All right, thank you for being here. We have a full house tonight, so thank you everyone for being here. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the regular City Council meeting, Wednesday, March 13th, and we're a little bit later, almost 6:45. We apologize for being late. As a reminder, if you would like to speak before the council tonight, please complete a blue speaker request form and give to the clerk prior to the item. The request forms are back on the back counter there. Ms. Vasquez, roll call, please.
Councilmember Yao? Here. Councilmember Lorimore?
Present.
Councilmember Tessari?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Plot?
Here.
Mayor Rigby?
Here.
Thank you.
Tonight's invocation will be presented by Pastor Ken Castro of Calvary Eastville. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Calvary Chapel, Eastville.
Calvary Chapel Eastville. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for having me out today, and thanks for having an opening prayer, council members, distinguished guests. You know, there's two reasons why we really want to lift up this night and every council member and council meeting. A couple things. First of all, this group has an extremely important agenda, and their decisions will affect you eventually. Somewhere down the line, they're going to affect you and myself in this city. And the second reason we want to lift them up in prayer, as well as they have a hard day going through each agenda and having to know what is going on. Maybe it might be the roads, it might be the police department, the fire department, it might be the schools, the streets, everything. And they got to be pretty well versed on that. Then they go home and their wife says, "Did you bring home those Fruit Loops?" No. So we're going to lift them up in prayer, not only for their task at hand, but also their personal life and the things that are going to affect you. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just come before you. Thank you for this time, Lord, that we are able to acknowledge you, Lord, in our direction in this evening's council meeting. I lift up each individual here tonight, Lord, that are going to be presenting items on the agenda. May you guide them and direct them, Lord. Give them wisdom and your strength, Lord, to make wise decisions, Lord. We look to you for that wisdom and guidance and direction. We pray for a physical rest as well, Lord. When they go home, Lord, I pray and ask that they may rest with their families, their children. I pray and ask for physical strength throughout the day, Lord. We thank you for each person here today. Pray and ask that you would just work in their hearts, that they may come to know you as well, Lord. Whatever reason they're here for, pray and ask that you would just guide them and direct them as well, Father. We look to you for our strength, our guidance, and direction, Lord. We love you in every, and in Jesus' name we pray. And everyone agreeing said, amen.
Thank you very much. We will now be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Yao.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, additions and revisions. The council may only add an item to the agenda after making a finding that there is a need to take immediate action on the item and that the item came to the attention of the agency subsequent to the posting of the agenda. An action adding an item to the agenda requires a majority vote of the council. Ms. Vega, do we need to officially add our previous meeting to this?
Your motion covered that.
Okay.
And it's not an addition, it's just a continuation of an agendized item.
Perfect, thank you. Ms. Vasquez, has staff or any members of the public asked for any additions or revisions?
No, sir.
Council, are there any additions or revisions? All right, then we will move on to item number 4. At this time, if the council will join me up at the podium, and then if we can have former Public Safety Commissioner Sean Perella come up, please. You have to bear with me, I'm still learning. I had to make sure I signed it. My first certificate I gave out was to our sheriff, and I forgot to sign it, so in the middle of the meeting I had to walk back there and request his certificate back. So, the City Council is pleased to recognize former Public Safety Commissioner Sean Parilla. Sean was instrumental in serving on the Public Safety Commission since being appointed by Councilmember Tesari in September 2014 and until February 2019, and had an integral part in establishing policy for the safety of Eastville residents. Mr. Parilla was involved in the city's emergency operations plan, traffic safety, the city's truck route ordinance, transportation management, National Night Out, assisted with El Nino storm preparedness, participated in the bicycle master plan for the city, selected pole-mounted camera locations, and several other projects. And at this time, I'd just like to convey our gratitude to Sean, and not only him, but also to his family for allowing us to utilize him and his expertise on the Public Safety Commission. So, in doing so, I messed up again. We're gonna give you your certificate, and we're gonna ask for it back. We're gonna time out. Can you guys
Get a pen.
Yeah. I signed it this time. The council didn't sign it. But it's still my fault. I was gonna say we could do a picture with it, but it's gonna have all these blades. I apologize again. But in doing so, we would like to recognize Sean for all the work that he's done for our city as a public safety commissioner, and we appreciate all that you've done for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just so you know, I still haven't officially accepted your resignation, so you can stay.
Thank you. I don't see him here, but we are going to go ahead and recognize him anyways for his service also. The City Council is pleased to recognize former Planning Commissioner Howard Fang. Howard Fang was instrumental in serving the city's Planning Commission since being appointed by Councilmember Lorimore in 2015 until December 2018, and had an integral part in establishing developmental standards to enhance the quality of life in the city. Mr. Fang was involved in numerous projects including the Goodman Commerce Center, Eastville Marketplace, the Ranch, Eastville Crossings, the Merge, and several other projects in the city. He was also involved in numerous organizations that were for the betterment of our community. And I would like to convey our gratitude to Mr. Fang for his dedication as a member of the Planning Commission and express appreciation for his service to our community. And after we sign his certificate, we will make sure that it gets to him. So thank you to Sean and to Howard for all that you've done for our city. We really appreciate it. Yeah. I don't think so. I hope not. So, moving on to item 4.2. Yes, 4.2, recognition of our teachers. Our Corona Norco Unified School District teachers and classified staff of the year. At this time, I'd like to invite them up to the podium to receive their certificates. And this is just something just real quickly that we decided to do because we realize the very important role that our teachers play within our community. How special they are to our community, how special they are to our young kids and what an influence they do. So we just wanted to recognize them in front of our council for the work that they have done. So we would like to recognize Sherry Bell, 2019 Teacher of the Year for Eastville Elementary.
Thank you so much.
Maria Cortez, 2019 Teacher of the Year for Clara Barton. Thank you. Nicole Elmore, 2019 Teacher of the Year for River Heights Intermediate. Thank you. We'll get a picture with everyone, yeah. Jill Geist, is that right? Is she not here this evening? Jill Geist is 2019 Teacher of the Year for Augie Ramirez Intermediate School. Crystal Hernandez, 2019 Teacher of the Year for Eleanor Roosevelt High School. Thank you. Do we have the certificate for Jason?
We will.
Yeah, no. There were two different.
City manager's fault.
Told you we had it. Here we go. And we have Jason Solis, 2019 Classified Staff of the Year for Clara Barton Elementary School.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
We also do have other staff and teachers that were Teachers of the Year at their respective schools that our staff will get their certificates over to them. So thank you to our teachers and staff of the year. We really appreciate all that you've done in our community. So thank you.
Our award-winning school district is one of the great things about our community. Blue Ribbon School District too. Great asset in our community.
Better turn on the microphone first. We're going to move on to item 4.3. Item 4.3 is an introduction of the city's community development director by city manager Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. With our strategic plan and our community outreach satisfaction study, one of the top things in our community was community development, enhancing the quality of design as well as economic development for our community. And so we are really excited to introduce Gina Gibson Williams, who went through a very competitive selection process to become our first community development director in-house. And she's a transformational leader. She's a 27-year veteran in urban planning with a bachelor's in geography and a master's in public administration. Innovation is her trademark. Her goal is to solve problems for today and tomorrow. When she is not championing change, Gina is a volunteer for the California Department of Corrections. She enjoys sightseeing, theater, cooking, conversation, and cheering for the underdog. So she'll be a good Dodger fan. Just kidding. That just came off right smooth. She is the author, mother, minister, and soulmate to her husband Robert. No matter what she is wearing, her MO is always the same: service, solution, success with style and a smile and a sense of humor. And once you get to know Gina, you'll always know she has a smile and a sense of humor. So with that, I want to bring up Gina to the podium so she can say a few words and introduce herself to all of you. But this is the council in which and the community in which you'll be serving, and it's a great community, award-winning community, and a community that will embrace you here, and we're excited to have you join us.
Well, thank you. Good evening, council and community members. So I just want to say that it's a pleasure to serve each of you. I count it a privilege, and I count it a privilege to serve the community as well. And I want to thank Brian and the management team for the opportunity to partner with those who are making decisions and serving the city of Eastvale. So I thank you for that.
Thank you and welcome aboard. Yeah. One thing we do is we'd like to get a picture with you with all of our staff. That's what we've done before. So.
Okay.
It should be noted that she has a lot of great experience with one of our largest developers in the community, with the Lewises. She is working with them to transform an airport into a commercial retail center. And so that's a pretty transformative thing to repurpose an airport into something great. And so she's got a lot of great experience in design and creating places for people to connect and prosper. So we're really excited to have her join our community. So.
Welcome to the team, Gina. We're excited to have you. So, moving on to item 4.4. Item 4.4 is a presentation on Western Community Energy by WRCOG, and we're going to invite Mr. Tyler Masters up to present that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Eastvale City Council members. Thank you for having me. I wanted to, before I get into this, just thank Mayor Rigby, as you are the vice chair of WCE, and Councilmember Tesari, you are our WCE alternate, and WRCOG prime representative, and Councilmember Plott as our alternate and WRCOG. Thank you guys for everything you do for us.
What about your TAC member?
And our TAC member, of course, Mr. Brian Jones, and our finance support, and yes. So I'd like to talk a little bit about Western Community Energy. Western Community Energy is your local neighborhood power authority. This is an opportunity, an energy initiative that was allowed by state law, and basically allows local governments to provide electricity on a single or an aggregate level. Communities coming together to provide electricity for its customers. In this case, WCE supporting 7 jurisdictions within Western Riverside County, providing energy to your community members, your residents, your business owners, etc. It's also been known, I think okay, we're good. It's also known as Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA for short. I will try to avoid using CCA so much. It is Western Community Energy, WCE. And basically what it does right now, Edison buys the energy, provides the energy to you or your customers. WCE is not replacing Southern California Edison. We continue to partner with Southern California Edison. SCE would continue to deliver the electricity to you and your customers, and your residents, I should say. WCE would simply be purchasing it and partnering with Edison to get it to your customers. CCAs aren't a new concept. There are 19 operating CCAs within the state. Over 100 municipalities participate in community choice aggregation programs like WCE. Public agencies aren't unknown to also develop to having their own utilities. There are 59 public utilities within California that either are their own municipal electric utility, water districts, etc. So it's not a new concept across the state. So why do this? A really great question that we've received a lot of times. The basic answer is that this is it's an opportunity, and it provides your customers with choice on where they get their electricity from, provides local control over energy programs, rates, power supply, the type of energy that you purchase to provide to your residents and community members, and it can help create kind of a favorable economic development opportunities moving forward. So how did we really get to this point? This is, I know, there's a lot going on in this slide. I'll try to get through it pretty quickly. We started in April of 2016, feasibility study to figure out if this is something that worked within our subregion, and it does. 2016, we completed the feasibility study. 2017, we essentially started getting out to communities and started creating our team. August 23rd, 2018, now 2 years later, after doing a number of tasks along the way, Western Community Energy held its inaugural meeting with 7 jurisdictions as part of that board, Eastvale included, part of that board of directors, Eastvale included. So it looks like I didn't go anywhere, but it's the next slide. So now from August 2018 through the end of August through the end of 2018, what's happened? Essentially, we've received a lot of great direction from our board members, our board of directors, setting program goals, making sure that whatever energy that we're going to purchase is done at a certain discount, the 2% discount for certain energy rates. We selected 35 and 100% renewable options. Again, options for folks to look at. And we've put a lot of the information, a lot of the program goals into an implementation plan that's been submitted to the CPUC for certification. That was submitted in December. There's one more slide, but I'm going to give it a couple slide break. So what we've essentially done over the past couple of months as well, parallel tracks. We've developed a website, westerncommunityenergy.com. It is on, so please take a look at it. We also have video FAQs. When we have staff, we like to put them in video FAQs, but you'll see that one of your staff is in ours, which is great. That's probably the best one up there. So you should check out who do I call if my power goes out. Miss Crystal Adams is our star on that one. So some of the WC program goals is set by our board of directors. First, offering a 35% renewable option, which essentially matches a little bit greater, but matches for all intents and purposes Edison's current default rate. And a big piece was providing that default rate at least a 2% discount. And then offering a 100% renewable option for those folks that really do want their power to come from a cleaner source. Again, just a total option, a good option for folks. But all within sight on making sure we build up a reserve so that we can weather any sort of energy market transformations or transitions. The board also decided on April 2020 launch date, excuse me. Here's a slide on just kind of showing the community annual savings. The total savings for the city of Eastvale is a little under $1 million, a little over 800,000, I should say. And this is annual savings at the default rate. The sub-region looks a little bit above $6 million every year. This is the final timeline, I promise, for the time being. So 2019 year is a big one for implementing a marketing strategy. We're on track for becoming certified as an aggregation program by the CPUC by the end of March. We will be working towards our end date for procuring energy is October. We're going to be looking at doing that earlier to get better prices on it. And then we'd be servicing load there in 2020, serving electricity to residents and community members. In the 2019 year, January, we met with all of our member jurisdictions, PIOs and city staff that handle outreach and marketing, and we met with Olivia Applegate, and we were able to get a lot of great information on what to do within the city of Eastvale for marketing and outreach, and we have a number of community events up there. You can see there's a little banner there on the bottom. That banner will be a little bit more familiar to you tomorrow because that's your electronic billboard that's going to be going up. I'm not 100% sure the location, but it off the 15 right there. There you go. So that'll be live tomorrow. So please keep an eye out for it. So we've gotten a lot of questions, having done this a number of times over the past couple of years. Some of the common frequently asked questions that we would just want to blast through real fast. How does it work? Do we all have to participate? The simple answer is no. Anyone can opt out at any time, before, 2 months before, or any time after WC has rolled out. You can opt out at no additional cost. You can go back to Southern California Edison. That's not an issue there. If I have solar, can I participate? Yes, of course. Net energy metering customers can continue to participate. At the end of the year, if you have solar, if you generate more than you use, Edison provides a true-up process. Through the true-up process, they provide a check or a credit that you can use for next year, or a check. It's envisioned that WCE, like other CCAs, will actually pay out a greater rate than Edison currently does, wholesale versus market. As a customer of WC, will I participate in SE energy programs? Yes. SE energy programs are public goods charge funded programs. All customers pay into that pot of funds, goes up to the CPUC, comes back down in the form of energy programs. You can still participate in those. CARE and FARA baseline folks will not have to reapply for participation in those programs either. If I stay with Edison, will I subsidize WC customers? No. There is an exit fee that will be included in the rates, and we've identified that the 2 to 3% savings is will still occur. This is what your bill would look like. There will be a simple line item addition for WCE. And this has been a more recent question. PG&E has filed bankruptcy. Will that affect us? No, because PG&E is up north, but two, because there is a recent court ruling that PG&E still has to uphold the services that it provides to CCA customers. Can I be involved in the process? Of course. We have local board of directors meetings every week, versus if Edison customers going up to Sacramento.
Every month.
Every month. What did I say? Sorry.
Week.
Every week. Every month.
I'm not going to be there every week.
Yeah, no,
sorry.
not every week. Okay. Even as our vice chair, I understand. Every month. But we'll be available for you at any day. And there's a little bit of information. You can go on our website. We have a number of social media handles that we're gonna start blasting out to here within the next month. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Tyler, for that presentation. I also would like to acknowledge Barbara Spoonar in the back, who is also with WRCOG and has done a great amount on this project also. So thank you to both of you. Council, are there any questions that you may have for Tyler? Councilmember Plott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Tyler, thank you again. I think sometimes these situations, we bring up, using, different energy, not different energy, but just using a different way to provide that energy. It can be complicated, and I think you do a fantastic job. You and Barbara, when you guys do presentations, you always do it in a way where it simplifies, it makes it easy to understand. So thank you for dumbing it down a little bit.
I think we're good on comments. Thank you so much again for the presentation. They are very responsive too, so if you do have any questions, feel free to contact them. Their contact information is on this presentation, but then also I'm sure you can contact city staff and they can get you in contact with them also. Item number 5, student liaison report. Is he
He's not here today.
He's not here. Okay,
He's not
thank
here
you. We'll move on to item number 6, public comments. Any member of the public may address the council on items within the council's subject matter jurisdiction, which are not listed on this agenda during public comments. However, no action may be taken on matters that are not part of the posted agenda. We request comments made on the agenda be made at the time the item is considered, and that comments be limited to 3 minutes per person. Please address your comments to the council as a whole and do not engage in dialogue with individual council members, city staff, or members of the audience. Ms. Vasquez, do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. We have one from Mr. Zarnik.
I hope I'm in the right time, in the right meeting. I'm here to speak about...
If you can do me a favor and speak into the microphone just because
Sure.
we record them. Thank you.
My name is Wojciech Ziarnik. I live here in the city for the last 7 years. And my concern that I'm here today is that I heard that you guys will be talking about the backyard beekeeping, right? The fly friends we have. So I'm a member of Eastfield Community Gardens. We have 882 members right now. And I think it's important for everybody to hear, and I hope everybody knows that bees are important and we have to promote them in the city of Eastville. So how I understand, you guys will be today deciding about if you as a city want to promote beekeeping in our backyards. So some of us have gardens here and we grow fruits in our gardens, and we see that the bee population are decreasing everywhere worldwide. So I hope that you guys will understand that and you will find a way and regulate that for the city of Eastville, because it's very important to promote bees in our city. Without them, there will be no fruits, and we will not have gardens, we will be not successful. This is what I want to say. I don't want to lose your time here, but this is very important. I want to also mention something that is bothering me. I noticed that we have companies that are hired from the city, and they have contracts with the city. And I hope that you guys overlook everything and you have those regulations, and I hope you do, about the using of pesticides in our city. Everybody here knows Roundup, and we have the lawsuit in San Francisco, and it was decided there that the victim of the person who got cancer from Roundup will be satisfied in a big amount of money. And why I'm saying that is because I hope I'm wrong, but I want to concern my voice here today. For the common borders surrounding our properties here in Eastville, I know that companies that are hired by the city, they are using many pesticides, and I hope that one of them is not Roundup. That's my concern. Yes, that I hope this is not the Roundup, because what we are learning every day more and more about Roundup is that we shouldn't be using Roundup in our communities. And I hope that everybody understands that, and if we are not there yet, we will be there soon, and we will stop using heavy pesticides in the city of Eastville. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Real quick on the pesticide on Roundup, that was a question that I brought up at our recent JCSD Parks and Commission meeting. JCSD is the one that manages our parks, and they do a good portion of our public right-of-way, and they do not use Roundup. So they...
Okay, that's the good news, and that's good that I ask, and I have this answer, and I have a good news for all the members today. 882 with beautiful gardens, and we love to have a gardens for the city.
Yep.
And that's a very good news. Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you. And then Mr. Jones has a comment also.
So we are reviewing our B ordinance, and we're not talking about that with council tonight, but it was brought to our attention by some residents about our community enhancement and safety team that went out there and talked with one of the people that has a beehive in their backyard, and we are looking to resolve that and we will be coming back before council for further direction on that policy decision on an ordinance at a later date. There, as some of you have been made aware, there is a challenge with beekeeping in Eastville at the present moment.
Very short question. Can we, as a residents of Eastville, have a view what those companies that I mentioned are using to clean our city, to do our parks, to do the parts that are between our properties? Can we have a view of those list of the things that they are using?
So the best would be to contact JCSD, since they are the ones that have the contracts with those vendors. We do not have the contracts with those vendors. Those are directly with JCSD that handles that. Jurupa Community Services District.
Okay, so you don't have a view of that, you said, and okay, I will go from there and I will go to the office of the city of Hall and ask more. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to staff for. I know that they were made aware of that earlier this week, and thank you for getting on that right away and looking into it. Do we have any more public comments?
We do have one more speaker card. George?
George, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is George Kamal. I'm a resident here in Eastville. Some of this I'm realizing is not going to be redundant because this is involving the issue. I'm the one that is with the issue of the backyard beekeeping. I have a backyard beehive. I started about 6 months ago. And recently the issue has come up. During the time, my understanding was that there was no guideline in place that made it illegal for residential beekeeping in the city. As it comes about, now it turns out there is guidelines for commercial keeping, which I'm not doing. I'm not commercially keeping, selling, anything like that. It's just a small hive. And I guess it brings an opportunity up to address the issue and look into it because now it has become very prominent within a lot of cities, most notably Santa Ana, Long Beach, and just this last year, Fullerton implemented the guidelines for backyard beekeeping and amended their municipal codes to allow it and set guidelines as well as best manageable practices on how to keep in the beekeeping in the backyard. Areas such as San Francisco too, and all these cities that I'm mentioning are much more densely populated than Eastville. So I would recommend if the city does look into it and possibly consider the amending of our municipal code to allow backyard beekeeping, that they maybe look into it Fullerton because they did approximately 2 years worth of research and meetings as well. To figure out if it's something that they wanted to allow within their city. And they ultimately did decide that they adopted that idea. And so far it's been going well for them from what I've been told. Another person that's reached out, and I'm not sure if any of you have gotten any emails from her, is Liz Savage, who's the president of the Orange County Beekeepers Association. She said she was going to reach out to send some information to help educate people. I know this isn't a very common subject, so it's difficult because as most things, most people fear what they don't know. And I know it does take a lot of time for people to be educated on the matter and understand it. And there's always two sides of it, people that will be for it and support of it, and other people that are going to be concerned, such as for allergies, which including in Fullerton, they did make a very good effort when it comes to setting guidelines for people with allergies, where they have a process on how that is handled for anybody that has allergies and has an objection to a neighbor keeping bees. But the issue that I'm coming up with is now I'm being told, despite the fact that there are no guidelines or laws set in place for residential beekeeping, that if I don't get rid of my hive, I will be cited under the commercial rule, even though I don't live in any area zoned for commercial or industrial. And so that's where my issue is. And I just I have reached out to the local gardening groups here in Eastville. And, you know, I've gotten some people's responses where they are in favor of it becoming and developing for our city. because of the decline of bees and how big of an issue it's become lately, that now residential beekeeping is becoming a thing within cities to address that issue. So what I would like to ask is just if the city council would maybe look into that and consider amending our city code to address it and either decide if they're going to make it legal or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sorry.
Hey, George,
Yes, sir.
you don't have to have one, but is there a specific reason you're keeping the bees?
Sure. Originally, it started as I've done a number of things. I have a backyard garden, an organic garden in my own house. I've moved to other things. I put solar panels on my house. I now drive an electric vehicle. But it's not just for being greener, but also I have a son who has severe allergies to pollen. He's 9 years old. He has to go to the doctor and get injections twice a week. And that's going to be going on for quite some time throughout his life, from what we're told by his dermatologist. He plays soccer here in Eastvale, but he has a hard time breathing because of all the pollen, so he has to have an inhaler now. And one of the things is that when you can have your own backyard bees, they make honey from local pollens within the area where you live. So one of the ideas is that the idea of injections are that you're little by little introducing the things that kids are allergic to into their body to help build an immunity with them, which is why it takes so many years for them to have to get these injections for them to develop that immunity. And one of the beliefs that a lot of people have done when it comes to having bees is you can create your own honey from the pollen sourced in your area. So I'm hoping that which I'm about maybe a month or two away of being able to extract my own honey from the hive, I can start giving it to my son for him to ingest it to help him try building immunity to the local pollens in our area and hopefully better his health. But aside from that, there's lots of things, like I said, it's good for the community, helps with the pollinating of plants. And as many people do know, there's a huge decline in the population of bees, where I could go on in information, but they're even bringing in bees from other areas and importing them here to California because they don't even have enough bees to pollinate the almond crops in Central California. So it's becoming a huge issue. And like I said, a lot of cities, private cities, have instituted now after doing research of realizing how important it is because of that. And they spoke about spraying, and a lot of people don't realize, although it is important to spray to keep down mosquito populations, they do kill bee populations as well. So by practicing residential beekeeping, it does help bring the populations back up and help maintain, as well as people's concern with allergies. If beekeepers are allowed to have their own bees, they are able to maintain their bees as well as form the docileness in them rather than the aggressiveness, and even help the area become a little bit more overcome by bees that are a lot more friendly and more docile than some of the aggressive ones. Because when you have wild bees, although there are feral bees that still occur, you don't know if they're Africanized or known as killer bees. And so there's no control in that. However, beekeepers can control that by requeening their hives and changing the temperament of the bees that they're keeping.
One of the things that if you can do with this information, if you can pass it on to our city manager, as he said, they will look into the ordinance, and just I'm sure he'll be more than happy to get that information, and if you need to, you can also talk to him about the ordinance, the current ordinance, and see what can be done about that.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Mayor, we'll put that on an action item list to bring back to council. I think Stephanie will already add that on.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comments?
No, sir, we don't.
We will move on to item 7, consent calendar. All matters of the consent calendar are considered routine and to be approved with one motion unless a council member, staff member, or member of the public requests separate action on a specific item. Ms. Vasquez, has the staff requested to pull any item from the consent calendar?
No, sir, they haven't.
Or any requests from the public?
No.
Council, do you have any requests to pull any items? Then I would solicit a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Vasquez.
Councilmember Yao?
Yes.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Tesari?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Rigby?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 8, public hearings, which we do not have any public hearings this evening. So we will be actually returning to
Correct.
returning to our previous special meeting, which is a budget session regarding our public safety. And we will go ahead and
Once we conclude this, then we'll come back to doing the council new business,
correct.
just for everybody in the room.
So we will go back to where we left off, and we'll go back to Councilmember Plott with questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, so I had maybe one other, possibly two other questions. So let's say when we're looking to, let's say we, theoretically, we move forward with our own Eastvale Police Department, and the goal set is July 2020 or June 2020. I'm losing train of thought.
July 1st, 2020.
July, thank you, sorry.
It could be as soon as July 1 of 2020.
Okay, so let's just kind of put something in theory. We're working on it, we approve it, we're going, let's say a quarter away, we realize we are not going to make this timeline, maybe we're not even close. Just because it's, I mean, obviously we're building an entire police department, it's gonna take quite a bit of infrastructure and things to put in place, and in that scenario, how does that play out? And what do we do in that scenario with our contract with RSO? I mean, if we need to further extend that contract out because we didn't meet that deadline, can you just kind of play out that scenario?
Real quick before you do, just as a clarification and just for the public's information, for those of you that weren't here in our budget session, we talked about fire budget, we talked about law enforcement budget. There are two proposals. Ernie, if you can go to that real quick. There are two proposals that are on the recommendations. One is to maintain the current contract with RSO, and then the second is to create an Eastvale Police Department. So just for the public's information, we are discussing the potential of creating a police department, but that decision is not being made this evening. So I don't want people leaving here thinking that we're making a decision to create a police department. There's just, we're talking about numbers and trying to figure out budget-wise, so. Mr. Jones, sorry about that. Or was that to Ernie? Yep. So this is the two options that we're looking at exploring. Once again, no decision is going to be made to create a police department. It's just budgeting right now.
So the question that you had, Brandon, is should we find ourselves down the path and we need a month, an additional month or 90 days? I'm sure that's a conversation we can have with RSO at the time if we need to. It's been shown by the city of Citrus Heights in Northern California and Menifee that they're planning on pulling it off within a 12-month period. And we have been reviewing what they have done, and it looks like something that could be achievable. And so we would just need to back into that schedule. But I'm just like when we built this council chambers, we started and we didn't quite have your dais finished, but we had something that looked like a dais up there for you to sit behind. So, I mean, there's other ways to handle things.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm very confident in yours and your staff's ability to get things done in a timely manner. You have yet to prove that otherwise. So you guys always been on time and getting things done. Just wanted to kind of do that doom and gloom approach. Kind of another gloomy approach is, all right, starting cost is $6 million, at least for that 1920 that we need to set at 2020 budget that we want to set aside. Let's say we're working out our franchise agreements with Waste Management. We don't get that done in time.
We would be negotiating with Waste Management and Burtech.
Okay, and sorry, clarify, Waste Management and Burtech to maybe help possibly cover some of these costs. Say it doesn't happen in that time frame. What does our fund balance, or how else can we pay for this? I know we can pay for it in our balance, but what does that fund balance look like, that unrestricted general fund balance look like, if we needed to pull from that? And let's say we didn't get that.
So our unrestricted fund balance is about $6 million at this present time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could pretty much cover the costs with our unrestricted fund balance in our general fund reserves. We could write ourselves a loan and pay it back with other funding streams that come in to do it as well. And so there are ways to address that should we want to do that.
We could also scale back that startup cost as well. It's 6 million is projected, but I think we mentioned it before, we can kind of scale back what we need to make sure that we can fit it and tailor it to our exact needs. But Brian's right, we have about 6 million in unrestricted fund balance right now.
So like the $6 million includes a take-home vehicle for every patrol officer. That's doesn't occur in every policing department, and so that could be something that we evolve into rather than in the first year, and that could help cut costs. There are a number of ways that we could address those costs and needs to reduce that. What we did is a worst case scenario for the startup costs.
And again, I'm fully confident we'll get something squared away. I do believe that. Just want to kind of take the worst case scenario. And again, if our satisfaction study is accurate as it is, having a high accuracy, if we do go through that ballot measure process and 71% of our residents are in favor of it, I would have very high confidence that would get passed through, and that would help fund pretty much all of it. So thank you. That was my only questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Plott. Real quick, I just have a couple of questions, and we'll go again on the round if anyone has any additional ones. On slide 21, it shows RSO's projected budget and then Eastville PD's projected budget for 5 years. Eastville PD, does that includes the startup cost?
Yes, because what that is it's a 5-year projection plus the startup costs.
So that 6 million is in addition to whatever our startup cost savings. A question regarding the sales tax measure. I know we showed a sales tax information on slide 26 regarding other cities in Riverside County. I think it'd be interesting and very beneficial for us to not only look at other cities within Riverside County, but adjacent cities. So Chino, Ontario, even Corona that's not necessarily immediately adjacent, Harupa, but just to have that information too so that we know our adjacent cities within our immediate area. I think that would be beneficial for us. The transition process, if we were to decide to go forward with a police department, how does that work? Can you share, and I think maybe, Brian, if you can share the specifics regarding contract wind down periods, how that works, even though we are in a term contract, what we can do with that.
I believe it was 2016, we executed a 5-year contract with RSO. In that contract, as I understand it, and we can have our city attorney, Erica, opine as well to confirm my understanding. There is a wind down clause in there of giving a 12-month notice. That 12-month notice can come at any time throughout the year. So what we were suggesting was to do it clean of a fiscal year July 1, but if council would like to do a little bit more community engagement or take a little bit longer before we give that wind down notice, we can shift or adjust that. But the 12-month wind down notice would take effect whenever we give notice to the Riverside Sheriff's Office.
So just for further clarification on the term, it says on the contract that its effective dates are July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2021. We can terminate this contract before that June
Yes.
30th, 2021 date with a 12-month wind down period.
Correct.
Thank you. The last question I have is just regarding the communications aspect of a new police department, and would there would basically be two options that we can do. We can either provide our own communications, or else we can somewhat outsource the equipment. But there will be a period potentially that we will be double paying on that communications as we make a transition from, if we decide to outsource it initially in year 2 or 3, we decide to bring it in-house, there's going to be a short period that we may end up double paying as we're transitioning to our own localized communications. Correct?
And when you're talking about communications, you're talking about dispatch.
Dispatch, yes.
Okay, so just for clarity. So there is the potential that we could execute dispatch in that 12-month period. there is the potential that we don't execute it in that 12-month period. And there's a plethora of ways that we could provide dispatch. We could contract with RSO. We could contract with one of our neighboring agencies around us. We could hire our own dispatchers and rent space in an adjacent dispatcher's facility. We could buy the equipment and put it into an adjacent facility and then transfer it over into our facility. There's a number of ways, or we could have our own dispatch facility. So there's a number of ways that we could create a dispatch center.
And the feasibility study covers that, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have right now. Councilmember, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things I'd like to see is in this proposal, I'd like to see what the actual numbers are with the salaries calculated with all the department members at full pay.
Sure, we can do
I
that.
think it would give us a much more realistic look at what the actual cost is going to be, considering we're forming, if this were to happen, you'd be forming a new police department, and presumably most of the hires would be laterals.
Yeah.
Which would be expected to be paid at a higher rate than new hires.
You are very correct, sir. I think laterals would be hired unless you incentivize them to take a step down, and there's ways you could do that as well. However, when we did some study analysis, we did a class and comp study of all the or many of the law enforcement agencies, not only in Riverside County, but in LA and Orange County, to get a sense of what is the standard of cost, and then we shot to be in the top tier of that. So our ranges are above most of the other law enforcement agencies, so that would help recruit laterals to our community. So I'm not sure that we would have to start everybody or anybody at the top step, because our ranges would allow for them to come over at something less than the top step.
Yeah. I wouldn't either. It's just that I would rather start off a budget with the maximum exposure.
Sure.
So that we're not trying to play catch up later on.
Yes, yeah, and we can do that. That's our typical standard, which creates an enormous salary savings in our current staff. And so when a majority of your budget for law enforcement is staffing, it could overinflate our costs versus a reality, and just like our current staffing model does right now, where we often have $1 million in salary savings because we're budgeting for the top step rather than.
It's been very beneficial over time.
It
worked out well
yes.
for us.
It provides us more of a buffer.
Yes, and we can do that.
With that being said, just for public information too, with the current budget, is there a contingency allotted in there for extras or anything?
So we have about a 15% contingency. So for a $10 million budget, that's about $1.5 million. And with $1.6 million that we would be saving on that'd be about $3.1 million of savings or contingency that we would have in our law enforcement budget.
Thank you.
Which would be close to a 25-30% contingency.
Councilmember, sorry, do you have anything else?
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Yao?
Thank you. I don't have any additional question at this point. I do like what I see. We're basically getting more for less. Budget-wise, it seems like it will be a wise choice. Yeah, thank you.
So, Mayor, if I might just say, we have a public safety commission that is coming up at the end of the month, the fourth Tuesday of this month. And what I might suggest to council is that we put the discussion of a police department, if that is the direction that I am hearing up there, that you would like to have a little bit of community engagement. That Public Safety Commission meeting would be before your next city council meeting. So we could get some feedback in that Public Safety Commission meeting, and then also share it and put something on your council agenda for, I think it's the 27th, the fourth Wednesday of this month, to further discuss the law enforcement contract. and we could do even more community engagement. We have done some community engagement as part of the community satisfaction study when we asked an open-ended question of the community, what is one thing that can enhance the quality of life in your community? I think it was somewhere about 12% on an open-ended question said increase or enhance law enforcement or create our own police department. So that was all lumped into about 12% of the respondents. And then there was a lot of other feedback in there, as well as asking the 1,200 residents that were surveyed in that scientific poll, would they be supportive of paying to enhance that? And it was about a 71% response said yes. Definitely or most strongly yes. Or I can't remember what the word it was before strongly, but so there was and we would need 50 plus 1. So that is a pretty good sign in a scientific poll that we're going into this of how the community is supporting where they would like to see us go.
Thank you. Councilmember Lormore.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification of what you're hearing as to direction forward. I would love to see this discussed at the upcoming public safety meeting, but also, yes, absolutely put this as something in a future council meeting that we can discuss more in depth. And that being said, I know that this budget workshop is looking for direction. That being said, I like what these numbers suggest will be the reality. That being said, I would be comfortable actually saying, yes, let's put together a budget that has $6.5 million in it for PD. I would like to know from the community if that's really the direction they want to go. So a tentative response right now. So I know that's not exactly what we're looking for tonight, but that's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Councilmember Plott.
I have no further questions.
So, budget-wise and direction-wise, I think for the most part we're clear on that we want to at least evaluate this, and we have a consensus of that. To further evaluate and to present this to the Public Safety Commission and to bring us back where we can discuss more in depth and have more community engagement on the potential of having our own police department. Do we need to, is that sufficient for now, or do we need to provide any further specific budget allocation or recommendation?
We can work with that. We are planning on bringing back the budget for first hearing, I believe, April 24th. Hopefully at the next council meeting, we can get a little bit more clarity, because it's going to take a little while to get the budget all prepared and ready and pretty for you. So we will be working, we will plan to present at the Public Safety Commission, and we will invite the community out for that meeting, as well as we will work to get some feedback from the community, more specifically on it. We can ask the question: is having more patrol hours an important thing to you? And then is having your own police department an important investment from your city council? Is that what I'm hearing you'd like to hear from the community? Okay, we can get some of that information. It won't be scientific, but we can at least get some information from the community.
And I think at least sharing it with the community, because I'm not sure that the community is even aware that this is a specific discussion that's happening tonight.
It's been a conversation on our Crime Watch page for the Neighborhood Watch quite frequently in the community, as I've been reading. So there's been a lot of conversation about creating our Eastville Police Department. We hear it a lot in the things. So, but we didn't advertise this tonight because we wanted to get direction from council before we got out in front of you saying, so we will, now that we get this direction from you, the reason why we didn't take it to Public Safety Commission before you is because I wasn't gonna get the community or anybody excited or against something before I came in and talked with you first.
And we appreciate that.
And so we wanted some direction from you, and now we can, now that we have that direction, we can go out to the community as well as the Public Safety Commission and bring that information back to you at hopefully the next meeting.
As I imagine, this will probably receive some attention just from our community. Can we tentatively say that Tuesday, March 26th is the day that it will go before the Public Safety Commission so that they can be,
Yes.
our community can be aware?
We
And
will
then again,
put-
tentatively, we will hear it again on the 27th.
Yes, we will put something together in a media release and send it out tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember, sorry.
Yeah, the only other question I had was, has Chief Martin gotten an opportunity to look at the proposal to?
He was offered an opportunity to review to review the feasibility study,
Thank you.
as was the entire RSO. And just so you know, we also had two highly decorated, experienced local government police leaders do a peer review of our feasibility study. So we're not putting all of our, Menifee had one consultant do an evaluation. We had a peer review, and the peer review was done by retired police chief who's just recently retired, Gary Morrison over there, if you can raise your hand, and then Paul Mendez, who is a retired police captain. They're both from the city of Carlsbad and highly decorated local law enforcement, and we asked them to do that because Carlsbad is a community that has high expectations from their residents and of their law enforcement, and it's something that's very similar to the city of Eastvale in that they have high expectations of us and our law enforcement and public safety, and so it's a key priority for them and their community, and so we want. They have command experience over SWAT, administration, K9 motors. They've done it all. They're FBI certified experts, and I could read their bios, but it's a pretty amazing tenure. I think it's maybe 60 or 70 years of experience between the two of them. So in law enforcement at executive level. So
Thank you. So look out for that. If you are interested and would like to attend, there will be more information coming. So that'll conclude our budget session, and we will move on back to our regular council meeting agenda. Moving on to item number 9, city council business. 9.1, ordinance prohibiting parking, standing, or stopping of commercial vehicles on public streets, on highways within the city. Mr. Jones.
I'm going to give this one to Erica. You want to take this one?
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
What if she says no?
Well, then I take it back, but she's been quiet tonight, so I thought I'd give her a chance to talk.
He's always looking out for my best interests.
Since it's an ordinance, it's legal, I thought I'd let the legal people talk about
I
it.
think that's Anissa needs to take a picture because that's the first time that you've ever given up the mic.
I'll keep this short and sweet. This evening is a brief ordinance on your agenda, amending an existing code provision that prohibits commercial vehicle parking on city streets in residential districts, but not in other districts in the city. And it was brought to our attention that some commercial vehicles have been parking in commercial areas that are very close to residential areas, and we decided to address it through an ordinance amendment. So, simply stated, this ordinance would prohibit commercial vehicle parking on any public streets in the city, citywide. With that, I'll take any questions.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Do we have any public comments on this one?
No, sir, we don't.
Any council questions or comments? Then I would, Councilmember Plott.
I just like how concise it is. It's very straight to the point, easy read, one page, gets right to the point. So yeah, I'm all about it. So absolutely.
If I might, Mayor, what we're going to do is, if you adopt this tonight, we will start doing education on any semi trucks that are being parked in the community overnight or on our streets, and then once it becomes adopted after 30 days after the second reading, then we will start enforcing it. So, but we will start communicating with any potential violators to give them a heads up that they're going to need to find a spot for their semi truck.
Is that going to be
Semi trucks?
enforced
Yeah.
by our police department, or is that community enhancement?
We will be working with our police department to enhance it, and the community enhancement and safety team. It can also enforce the municipal code.
So both can. Great.
I move approval.
Second.
Ms. Vasquez?
Councilmember Yao?
Yes.
Councilmember Lorimer?
Aye.
Councilmember Tesari?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Plot?
Yes.
Mayor Rigby?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 9.2, City Council direction on initiating a general plan amendment to remove the future Sleisman Road interchange from the circulation policy map. Again, Mr. Jones.
I won't give it the mic this time. Thank you. So, one of the discussions that we have been having is we bought land, what is commonly referred to as the Polopolis Nursery property at Sleisman and Hamner. Sleisman Road, for a long time, was identified as back in the county, was identified as a roadway that was going to cut through the city of Eastvale and connect to the 15 and all the way into the city of Riverside. Since that time, the city of Riverside has removed it from their general plan, so it no longer goes east of the 15. Harupa Valley removed it from theirs, as well as Norco has taken a stand against this. This roadway would need to go through the city of Norco to get to the 15, and would also potentially remove a number of homes from a subdivision in our city, depending on how the interchange is designed. So I'm going to walk you through a little presentation here, and one of the things that we did on August 24th was we identified strategic council priorities, and one of the strategic council priorities was to create value. And when we talk about how do we pay for police and fire in the future, roadways are a liability and they do not create revenue for our community. They actually cost to maintain. And so what we are looking at is how do we enhance the value of our land and our remaining land, and we only have 15% land left in our community, and we heard that with Urban 3 that we really need to prioritize and value that land. So the other target was to evaluate traffic flow related to schools and partner with schools. Sleisman Road cuts right through the middle of our city, right next to our Eastville Community Center, and about 4 or 5 schools cross over Sleisman Road. So it's a fairly school-age traffic area in our community. So that was another big area. And so we're seeking council direction to start the process of removing Sleisman Road interchange from the general plan. And when we talk about that, it's the Sleisman Road interchange at the 15 just east of Hamner, which is technically in the city of Norco and city of Harupa, and where Silver Lakes currently exists. And I'll show you that. So that's the area right there. This future interchange, there's been a long time ago, there was a study that was done but then tabled and removed from Caltrans and never approved by Caltrans to look at an interchange. This is one such of the interchanges. Another one has a big clover leaf right in the middle of all those soccer fields in Eastville, and it's not in this PowerPoint, but it would take out about 4 or 5 soccer fields in Silver Lakes, and greatly impact the backyard where all the concerts are held at Silver Lakes. So as you can see, this roadway cuts right through and splits with 110, 120 foot right of way through about 22 acres of land, and about 5 or 6 of it would be dedicated to this roadway. And so it really impacts the developable land that's overlooking Silver Lakes and that's visible from the freeway. And so some of the most valuable part of this land would be used for a roadway rather than development. Because as you can see right there, right where the Polopolis property is, where it leaves and cuts over the soccer fields, that's all visible from the freeway when you're going northbound on the 15. So some of the changed circumstances, there was a white paper that we worked with Interwest to develop, and both planning and engineering and reviewed and approved and prepared that document. There are many reasons why the city council may want to remove this interchange from the roadway system, and we can talk about any of those in the white paper that was as part of the staff report. The political reality is that other cities are affected by this and they don't support it. So Jurupa Valley, the city of Riverside, and Norco do not support this interchange. We would need consensus and support from them to build this interchange if we were to do that. And so in speaking with Caltrans representatives, they were excited and elated to hear that we weren't pursuing an additional interchange, because the more interchanges you put on a freeway, it affects the mainline operations and it creates more friction on the and causes more potential collisions and backup on the freeway. So the fewer interchanges you have on the freeway, the better the freeway operates. And so the funding was removed from the TUMP, but a few years ago it was projected at $91 million. That doesn't include the acquisition of a number of homes in the subdivision, and I can go back to that subdivision. You see all those homes that are right along the 15 right there. Those would be the minimum that would be impacted. It might be even more, because this interchange would be above all those homes, looking down into those homes, and the noise, the light, and the traffic volume and the sight of an interchange in their backyard would be looking down on those homes. They're all 2-story homes, and it'd be taller than those homes going over them. So it was removed from the TUMP network, and the question is, do we utilize our land for more roadways, or do we use our land to create revenue to pay for services to serve our community? So the land could be used better for retail, hotel, civic uses. If with the roadway, it limits the city's ability to build, and one of the big things is if we put an interchange right there, it diverts traffic from going by our major retail centers on Limonite and using the brand new interchange that we just built at Limonite. That was designed and sized not only for the city of Eastvale, but the city of Ontario Ranch, which is twice the size of Eastvale, that's still to be built. So we're moving about 25,000 cars on Limonite. Limonite is designed to handle 60 to 70,000 cars. And Cantu Galliano is also another big interchange. So this is the land, and as you can see, that land cuts right through there, but the triangle between that land of that roadway and down to the edge of the thing becomes useless, because it's a sliver of land that you can't fit much in. But this interchange doesn't have any funding for the next 30 or 40 years. If it were put back into the funding program, it's a pretty low priority for the region. So we would be sitting there with land being preserved for an interchange, and we'd have to design the shopping center for a roadway to cut through it that may never get built or funded, and get approval to get through politically or environmentally or with public funds. So the general plan amendment removing the interchange requires an amendment to the general plan. So we are seeking council direction based on the white paper that was prepared for you to start that general plan, and we are estimating the cost to be below $75,000 for technical studies, environmental analysis, and staff time. We did speak with the Lewis Development Corporation, and they are in favor, and they have always been in favor of the Sliceman interchange going away, because it does create challenges for that. We also talked with Silver Lakes, and they are not in support of this impacting their soccer or entertainment venues at Silver Lakes. And so and we talked with the city of Norco and the city manager, and he shared his lack of support for this interchange as well. I'm just, as part of this recommendation, asking for authorization to execute the professional services contracts up to $75,000 to bring this back to you in an expeditious manner, so that we can design and maybe even add value and more development projects to our part of the land that is known as the Palopolis Nursery property, as we're a partner in that project.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments on this item?
No, sir, we don't.
It would have been awesome if it said turn right on Sliceman Interchange.
It would not have passed.
We'll turn to council discussion.
See, even our phone wants us to use the Limonite Interchange.
Councilmember Yao, we'll start with.
Thank you. Just by looking at what we're being presented today, I am absolutely in support of this. I think that with the limited land that we have, we definitely need to utilize and maximize our sources of revenue, and not to mention that Silver Lakes, as we all see, Silver Lakes attracts a lot of folks from outside of town, and then even outside the state, or even from the international community. With that being said, I know I've asked you this, Brian. Do you mind just sharing with the public on, because the thing, one of my concerns is that as much as I like this project, one of the little setback is that we all know this, is that the traffic is absolutely horrible over there. What is the city doing, or what maybe perhaps in partnership with City of Norco, what are we doing to perhaps not necessarily entirely eliminating the problem, because I don't foresee that happening, but perhaps maybe improving the traffic situation?
So there's a number of projects that are going on right now. Right now we're spending millions of dollars on improving the Limonite Interchange right out here before us. As soon as that project is done in the November to December timeframe, depending on weather and rain delays that we've been experiencing from Mother Nature, we are going to start on widening the Hamner Bridge project between the city of Norco and city of Eastvale across the Santa Ana River, between our community park and the Silver Lakes project. That will become a 6-lane roadway with sidewalk and bike lanes and everything across. Then as it extends, it will become widen the road Hamner all the way down to 6th Street, where they will be making improvements at the 6th Street interchange, and Norco is making improvements and working with Caltrans to enhance the operations of that interchange as well as the access to that interchange. However, during peak hours, we will always be limited by ramp metering by Caltrans. And so it only allows one car per every 3 seconds onto the freeway. And by the way, the freeway doesn't have any additional capacity during the peak time. It's not moving. And so that's why the ramp metering is there to help slow down so we don't create more friction out there. But Caltrans is working, and RCTC is working to put in the HOV lanes or the express lanes on the 15, which should help give people choices and options to getting through this area. But we will never be able to chase our bottleneck around in this region. Wherever we fix a bottleneck, we are just going to push it to the next bottleneck that was never discovered. And so we can spend billions of dollars chasing our tail, but we're never going to catch it. And so the other real big investment that you all approved was the Limonite Avenue extension east of Archibald across the Cucamonga Creek to connect with the city of Chino. And so that will be a nice east-west arterial that will be 4 to 6 lanes, mostly 6 lanes in the city of Eastvale, but the bridge will be 4 lanes because Western Riverside Cogs, thinks that the bridge only needs to be 4 lanes, and that's all they're going to fund. But we built everything around it for 6 lanes, or the region in the Nexus study that is highly scrutinized for impact fees is 4 lanes, and so. But it's 4 lanes in Chino on the other side of Hellman, and so that is we're creating that as the nice east-west connector. We don't need the redundancy and having and inducing traffic right by all of our schools and our community park and our neighborhoods in the heart of our community. Along with all of our community parks that are right there as well. So that's why we haven't done that. But those are the number of efforts that are going on right there. But really, in our community, the bottleneck is our large intersections. The bigger the intersections, the less efficient they become. And the bigger you make an intersection, we got a call from somebody saying, wow, when the intersection went out and it was red flash, no one knew how to get through the intersection, right? Because it's just so far across, it's 110 feet across. It's really hard to treat that as a stop and go intersection, which is required by law. But as we build our intersections bigger, it just induces delay for waiting for the light to come back around and give you a green.
Thank you.
Councilmember, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Suppose we kept it the way it is, how many decades would it be before we actually got the funding because of the low priority? Are we looking at maybe 20, 30 years as a low estimate?
Well, since it got taken out of the impact fee program, I would estimate more at 30 or 40 years, but that would require political support as well. So to put it back into the funding program as well as get the funding for it. So I am, if I were a betting person, I would not put my money on that interchange getting funded.
And I would imagine without the support of the contiguous jurisdictions, it might also involve litigation before any of that could even happen.
I'm not going to speculate on that, but I could definitely see it impacting business operations for Silver Lakes as well as the city of Norcross and Harupa Valley, as well as the environmental constraints of the floodplain on the other side of the freeway in the city of Riverside. So,
Well, I would have to concur with Councilmember Yao and support removing this.
Councilmember Lorimer.
Thank you. The white paper is very informative, and there are a ton of great reasons why we should not build this and we should take it off our general plan. That being said, we voted on this back and I appreciate the white paper reminding me, September of 2015. And at that time, I was against removing it from the general plan. And I still maintain those feelings, even though there are a lot of opportunities, particularly in the short term, of being able to capitalize on that extra space, whether that be adding the hotel or even the reasons to remove it about the extra costs and neighboring cities. My big concern is, Brian, you alluded to it in your presentation, and that has to do with the 150,000 new residents that we're going to be getting in South Ontario, Ontario Ranch. And we have a really great entrance, freeway interchange over at Cantu Galliano. We're going to be building something similar here at Limonite, which is wonderful. That being said, I know that you add a place the size of Corona, in terms of population, to an area the size of Eastvale, with no new interchanges being put in, on the 60, onto the 15. It's bad planning on their part. And I really hate the idea of subsidizing for them. That being said, I'm not thinking about them. and their residents or subsidizing for them. What I am thinking about are our residents. And again, in the short term, absolutely, it makes sense. We can maybe put another hotel there. Love that idea. In the long term, I just, it seems like bad planning, bad forward thinking. We can make that short term approach. And I mean, we conditioned developers to build this massive roadway on Schleisman there, right in front of where the 99-cent store is, right there at Hamner. It's huge. And then it will dead end. And I think it's, with respect to our neighbors, I think it's bad planning on their part to have removed this from their general plans. So that being said, I'm not in favor of removing it from there. But at the same time, I understand why there are some good reasons to do so.
So we're not asking whether you're in support of removing the interchange, we're asking whether you're in support of doing a general plan to analyze, a general plan assessment to analyze it to remove it. There's a difference.
Okay.
But you're saying that you don't want to spend the money to do the general plan amendment.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Plott.
Yeah, real quickly, have we had discussions? I know Lewis is in full support of this. Have we looked at what we can do in like just specific conversations, if we're allowed to discuss that, as far as maximizing the opportunity of new space now that we would have if taking that off, and what we can do with that space?
Yeah, we are working on increasing the development on that property right now.
I think it's just a good opportunity to leverage the opportunity to do that, and you know, obviously it's a big win for them. So I would think
It's a big win for us.
and
The land
that's
comes
just
to
it,
us.
but it takes us right to be able to make that happen. And I just would hope that maybe we're just leveraging as best as we can on that.
Yes.
To maximize the revenue versus no liability, right? On
Right.
those roads. That was it. I'm absolutely all in favor of it. So I just think it's completely poor planning on the county at the time. I know Eastville wasn't a city at the time when it was all being planned out, but just when you're building those homes and it was there, like how do you expect to put that huge, I mean, it's foolish. So I can understand that there's jurisdictions why it's not on there. I don't see why we would have it on there if it just makes no sense. My hope's that the I-15 lineman, the new I-15 lineman interchange, the Hammer Bridge will be able to mitigate some of that traffic coming through, at least specifically for the citizens of Eastville, right? And maybe some of the citizens of the Ontario Ranch area. So, but I'm all in favor of it in getting this done, and let's just get that area built and developed, man. Let's build some hotels and some restaurants, man.
Thank you, Councilmember Plott. Couple of questions that I have. Going back to the slide that has the sketch of the property there. Where does our property go to, if you could draw a southern line?
So our current property is the future civic development, which looks like parcel 8 up there. It is north of Schleisman, the green area there. It's about 5.5 acres. It comes up to about 7.5 or 8.5 acres in value or land with the roadway gone. So we'd be dedicating about 2.5 acres, and then the sliver is another acre or so.
So visually on that map there, you have the top dark dotted line.
The rectangle to the upper right.
So you have the
two black lines is the roadway right of way going through the
Correct.
property.
So where does our property
What's
go
north
to?
of that?
North of that? So this property would be technically Lewis's property.
No, it would be our property. This roadway would have been dedicated to us.
So the property line,
I'll show you. Can I use is there a little? This is our property right here. This is our property right here. Can everybody see that? This is the roadway right here. And the hotel was gonna go to about right here. And so what we are working on with the Lewises is to have the line come like here, and this all becomes city-owned property. So then we would have Silver Lake's view property rather than the back corner.
Mayor, if I may, just to clarify, that hasn't been memorialized in your exchange agreement or anything like that yet, so that would take a subsequent action by the city council, most likely, depending on what we negotiate with the Lewises.
Okay. And then if we were to eliminate the Schleisman Road interchange, does that narrow down that existing street that's proposed there?
Yes, and so we can narrow that roadway down. It doesn't need to be a 4 or 6. It's designed as a 4-lane roadway with the ability to widen to a 6-lane roadway, but it wouldn't need to be that big. I mean, if you think about the Eastville Gateway and the signal that's coming in to the Eastville Gateway, there's 2 inbound lanes that about 150 feet once you come in become 1 lane coming into the Eastville Gateway, and the center's a lot bigger and serves a lot more commercial than this land would.
So if we do this, this is basically a win-win for us and the developer.
Yes.
Is there any way, and I know it's
also a win-win for creating places for people to connect and prosper and add value, which is what our community is clamoring for.
And I know it's only a $75 or $75,000 what we're asking for, which on a big development like this is not a huge amount of money. But is there any way to ask Lewis for any part of that? No?
No.
Is that just something that we can't do, or?
We can't force them to do this, no. We would be gaining the benefit of this general plan amendment.
And so are they. Right?
Yes, but we can't condition them to do this general plan.
Okay. I have similar concern as Councilmember Lorimore with just the traffic issue, but at the same time, there are a lot of benefits that come with eliminating this. As you said, we aren't here to make a decision on whether or not to remove this, just whether or not to proceed forward. I would be in favor of moving forward to further evaluate this. And I would hope that when we do, that we'd bring back more specifics as to what Norco's doing to alleviate traffic. So what they're doing with their 6th Street interchange and 6th Street Hamner intersection, all that kind of stuff. Because I think that'll help us to see the overall picture of what they're doing. Because as you drive down there, I'm sure right now, even at 8:30, it's probably a mess. That I think that would help.
It's not a mess right now, but it was a mess about 2 hours ago.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. Any other questions or comments from council? Then I would solicit a motion on this.
What are we being asked to do?
The recommendation is direct staff to initiate a general plan amendment process to remove Schleisman Road interchange at the I-15 from the map of future roadways, and authorize the city manager to execute professional service contracts and all necessary documents up to and not to exceed about amount of $75,000.
Excellent, thank you.
So I move to approve staff to initiate general plan amendment process to remove Schleisman Road interchange at I-15 freeway from the map of future roadways, and authorize the city manager to execute professional services contract and all necessary documents up to not to exceed amount of $75,000. Wow, that's a lot.
Second.
Just so you can save a breath in the future, you can just say, I make the motion of staff's recommendation.
Thanks for that.
Councilmember Yao? Councilmember Yao?
Yes.
Councilmember Lorimore?
No.
Councilmember Tesari?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Plot?
Yes.
Mayor Rigby?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
It was really poor planning on the county, because they approved the subdivision in our community, and now we'd have to remove homes from that subdivision to build this interchange, and so.
It was all Adam Rush's fault.
Blame it on the guy that's not here.
That was part of their plan to build that subdivision, that's what I'm saying.
All right, well, we're going to move on to item number 10, city manager report, city staff reports. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. I do want to highlight and share this week and a media release, I believe, went out today. But we were named the 12th safest city in California out of the 484 cities in California. So the 12th safest city, and we want to thank our Eastville Police Department, law enforcement, for their services in helping us achieve that, as well as the city council on all your strategic investments, as well as the community on our neighborhood watch program, which has been really successful in deterring crime, as well as helping people understand how not to make themselves victims by people from outside of Eastville coming into our community and preying on our people. So the by SafeWise, they did a great analysis on that. We also last week did a great every 15-minute presentation at Eleanor Roosevelt High School with the CHP, and special thanks to Riverside County Fire, CAL FIRE, as well as Riverside Sheriff's Office and Eastville Police Department. They really stepped up in a big way to make a big impact. Brian Molina was a star, dead body on the hood of the car.
He is still alive. That's not the reason he's not here. He's still alive.
He's still alive. He was playing a good acting job, but he was in the back seat without a seatbelt and went through the windshield and ended up on the hood. And so it was a result of a drunk driver student that had a car full of children in it. A mock crash scene. It was a great realistic scene, though. The Life Flight CAL FIRE brought in a helicopter. The motor officers, the patrol officers, the coroner's office came. The ladder truck came and cut up all the vehicles in extrication. It was quite impressive. So, what did you say?
I said they definitely come a long way, because when I was a kid, they didn't do all that. It was just a car wreck and that was it. That's some serious stuff. I mean,
Kids today want realism.
yeah, no, if that's
You
real.
can't pretend anymore. And then we are excited.
On that, real quick, on the every 15 minutes, great job again to our police department and our fire department.
Yes.
This is more or less correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Martin, but this is more or less a CHP ran project, and our police department, to see how many were out there, was very impressive. So we really appreciate the coordination, everything that you guys did. You guys did a great job. Very good job.
While every 15 minutes is a CHP and a school district thing, our local police department, as well as our fire department, stepped up in a huge way to pull that event off. We also, I believe we closed on the streetlights, but I haven't gotten the email confirmation yet. But we transferred the money, and I think we crossed on the T and dotted.
We did. We actually closed on Monday evening, so we're just waiting for official word from Edison that we own those streetlights, which should be happening any day now.
The check cleared, so or the loan cleared, and then we want to remind that the state of the city is we have one on July 17th for businesses and one on 18th for communities, the community members. So we're doing the state of the city. We're having a lunchtime one as well as an evening one, so that we can have more people participate in the state of the city. And then we also yesterday went to Cal State University San Bernardino and participated in a great internship program, recruitment, where the posters and the way we showed off Eastville had a bunch of college students excited to put in their applications for internships with the city of Eastville. So great job to our communications team, as well as our talent attractions and development team, for going out there and really highlighting Eastville to the college graduates that are coming out of San Bernardino. And with that, I think we are, is there anything else, Olivia? I think that's it.
Thank you. If no further city manager staff reports, we'll move on to item number 11, City Council Communications Committee Reports. We'll start with League of California Cities.
Okay. So for the league, as discussed at the last meeting, there was the state board meeting, which took place up in Grass Valley, and Governor Newsom came out to that. The reason I mentioned that, and am reiterating it, is there was a regional Riverside County Division meeting, which took place on Monday of this week in Desert Hot Springs. I know that not everybody was able to attend. I myself was not able to attend, and but I did supply a report to them that was distributed at the meeting, and so I'll walk through some of those things here because it took a lot of time writing this thing up, so I don't want it to go to waste. So I'm going to share with you guys. So there was $750 million that Governor Newsom has talked about that he's going to be putting towards the housing crisis, and that will be. That's actually just the beginning part of it. I believe there's 1.75 billion with a B that he is dedicating in this year's, the governor's budget. And so a lot of this is a concern over whether or not jurisdictions are meeting their RENA numbers. And so he is supplying the tools to be able to get to a place where they can come into compliance with their RENA number allocations as set forward in AB 73. And that came into law last year. So there were 4 cities in Riverside County, 47 statewide that did not come into compliance. Eastvale, we're good. We've been planning accordingly. But that money will be there to help move forward. That being said, it's not just about money that's being offered up just to give money out. There is a flip side to that, of course, that this governor, that's the carrot. There is also a big stick. So in Huntington Beach recently, the state filed a lawsuit against the city of Huntington Beach for not meeting their RENA numbers, for not even planning to meet their RENA numbers. So there's a lot more to that story, but it is ongoing. But the governor did that in order to show that he means business on this issue. That being said, it is very likely out of the 2,763 bills that have been introduced this year, I guess it was 2 weeks back now, that the deadline was set for the introduction of bills. So we anticipate that many of those bills will be housing focused. And so to be on the lookout for that, but that is the buzzword this year of housing, affordable housing, housing at all levels, getting it done. The governor had stated that he wanted to build 3.5 million new homes between now and 2025. He said that on the campaign trail. He's sticking to that. That's a very ambitious goal. California currently builds about 100,000 homes a year. He's saying that he wants to build 500,000 homes a year. It's never been done ever. So, but
In a single year, let alone to do it 5 consecutive years.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. More on this report. We have the league has been doing a lot of legislative advocacy. And as a result of housing being an issue this year, league staff has met with 18 legislators to talk about the housing that is going to, then the bills that are associated with that are going to meet, that have been introduced this session. And also there is AB 147, and that's Assembly Bill 147 by Assembly Member Autumn Burke, which will expand upon the collection of millions in state sales and use taxes from out-of-state sales via the implementation of the landmark U.S. Supreme Court bill, Dakota versus Wayfair. So I bring that up because we're talking about things like Amazon, and that seems to be the direction that we're going. A lot of people are going away from retail and purchasing things online. So it'll be interesting to watch where that one goes. And I know that we have 2 gentlemen up here that are on policy committees. They're going to be meeting on March 28th and 29th in Costa Mesa. Also, there is going to be the Legislative Action Day in Sacramento, which is going to take place on April 24th. And there is a city attorney's conference going to be taking place 8 to 1. So on May 8th through 10th. So just put these on your calendars, get in, because some of these events, or not events, but meetings actually, especially trainings, become booked. So anyway, that's the report on the league. Thank you.
Thank you, and if you want to continue on with SCAG, please.
No, I'm done now. Okay, so SCAG, we had a meeting earlier this month. Again, a lot of presentations as to preparing for the upcoming Regional Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategies meeting. Of course, there is the upcoming General Assembly that I'm gonna, if you guys have not registered yet as council members, staff, please do so. And it's going to be a big thing. It's going to be taking place in Palm Desert. Always a great opportunity to learn new things and share new ideas. So let me see here. Is it down here? Okay, so I'm going to take a break for a little bit of talking and drink some water, and I'll come back and talk about RCTC. Thank you.
All right, thank you. WRCOG.
No update.
Riverside Transit Agency.
No update either.
And Western Community Energy, we had an update. We had a meeting today, but we had a better update than I could give from Tyler earlier. So we'll forego that. Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District.
Nothing to report. They did spray last Friday, but other than that, there's nothing additional.
Thank you.
No Roundup.
Riverside County Transportation Commission.
I was hoping to have more downtime. So I have a question though for you. Do we have, is there related to Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control any staff member that's retiring anytime soon?
Thank you, Councilman Larimore. Yeah, that's this Friday. Major Dillon, Dr. Dillon is, he retired, Bill Van Dyke took over as the director, and this Friday they're having a going away luncheon that starts at 11:30 at the Vector Control Building in Corona.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So RCTC actually met this morning in downtown Riverside at the Riverside County Administrative Center. And at that meeting, there were a number of items up for discussion. There was active transportation funding. There were 4 projects that were approved to be put forward. The closest one to us, I believe, was going to be in Corona. So that was $10.9 million for those 4 projects combined. For Riverside, so RCTC, if I didn't spell it out, Riverside County Transportation Commission, it takes care of the regional transportation. And one of the things that they maintain the highways in Riverside County with Caltrans to build the projects there. One of the things, though, that they do maintain control over is the freeway patrols that go. So if free of service, a tow truck will pull up behind you if you're stranded and help move you if you are indeed in trouble. Also related to that are the call boxes, those phones that you see on the side of the road. Today we were asked, this was done 2 years ago, they cut down the number of call boxes on the side of the road with the advent of everybody having a cell phone, 95% of people apparently. So now there are 286, I believe, in Riverside County along our freeways. They're planning to cut those down to 156, and you will not see one on the side of the road in the western half of the county unless you have a strong opinion about that and talk to me, because it's still up for discussion. I'm kind of torn on it. There are those people that do not have phones. There are those times where your cell phone dies. But there is a cost savings in not having those phones there. There is an upkeep charge of almost $500 a year per phone, and they did an analysis on it. Some of these call boxes they divided out by all the different call boxes across the county, 4.5 calls per year. So a lot of people aren't using them except for the times when you do need them, right? So anyway, actually, I'd love your feedback if you have thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to RTA. Councilmember Plott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, one thing I want to mention, this is a cool success story. So Keith, who's came out a couple times in public comment, I'd say probably maybe three different times, had mentioned about changing the bus stop. There was a bus stop that is no longer there that was on the northwest corner of the Eastvale Gateway Center. And the idea was that he wanted a bus stop that was more conducive to where probably there'd be more people to be picked up there, and that was near Swan Lake. He's been heard, he's been listening, and that stop's been completed. They've eliminated the stop at the northwest corner of the Eastville Gateway Center and put it closer to Swan Lake. So thank you to the RTA staff, to Rohan, and all the other staff members at RTA, as well as our city staff. And I know Interwest and Joe and Jerome were a big part of that. But it's kind of a cool story because people are heard, right? So if you're not thinking you're heard, you're being heard. And so Keith did text me today and he said he couldn't make it. I will actually see him tomorrow because he's in our T-Now meeting. But I'll make sure I get a good testimony out of him in a public comment. That's my goal. Before that, I gotta make sure that gets done.
Well, I was hoping to get a good comment from Betty Wu, who we fixed her landscaping in front of her house in coordination with JCSD today.
That's another public comment that's heard. So
I know because she came to share with us, and we finally got it done to her satisfaction. I just have an email right here. Let me read it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick because I was really happy to see this today. It made my day. Raphael and all the replacement plants are in place now, and they look great. Thank you from Betty. So, I wanted to follow up and close the loop with you guys on that one too. That was another success story. It took a little while to get there, but we got there.
No, and I just wanted to that people are heard, and who knows? You never. I mean, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. But the Beehive thing, you're heard. Right, and things are taken into consideration. It does take time, like Brian said. So, but thank you. Yeah, and tomorrow we have our T-Now chapter meeting as well. So,
Thank you. Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Agency.
So, sorry to disappoint y'all. There's actually no species of the month for this month. I don't know why. Yeah. We don't have species of the month, but RCA does want to remind everyone that if you go mountain biking or just hiking in general, make sure you stay on your path. And if a trail is closed, do not try to go in there. Usually they're trying to conserve and trying to make sure that the habitat, like, they're growing and that stuff like that. So just don't bother. Don't even try to go into trails that are closed. That's all. Yep.
Thank you. JCSD. We haven't met since last time, so there's no update right now. Finance Committee.
That's next week.
Nothing to report on that.
Actually, I think that meeting will be canceled, and we'll just push it back to because we won't have a quorum. So,
Okay. Thank you. Any additional comments from council?
Just a shout out to Dr. Tellez at Roosevelt High School and Deputy Meyer. They did a great job. They were the ones locally here that coordinated with CHP to get the Every 15 Minutes program going. So, and it is a huge grant. So they might get it in 2 more years.
Councilmember Plott.
it's kind of going off of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's kind of going off of what Councilmember Laura Moore mentioned about housing and the housing crisis. I was up in Sacramento last week for work business, not city council business, but I ended up attending one of the hearings on the RHNA requirements, which is the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, which that's what Councilmember Laura Moore is referring to in the needs of it. And then I met with Senator Roth, and we started discussing more about the Regional Housing Needs Assessment requirements, and it started to make a long story short, it started getting me thinking about, I started thinking about the urban three. They kind of started going back, and I think there's a way, and I'm just using this, and we're not here to have a discussion about it, just, I think there's a way where we can hit two birds with one stone with this. Meaning fill requirements, but also maximize opportunity and property. And I'd like to see when we do see these requirements that come out, we do understand them, how we can utilize urban three to basically knock out. I think it could be a big win for us in doing that. I'm just sharing that idea, but that's kind of what I kept thinking about and kind of kept it to myself, but wanted to share that thought.
So I will be bringing back before you next council meeting an amendment to the contract because it's above my signing authority of $25,000 to do additional analysis to add value and create work. Let me say it over again. To create added value development in our community and identify how we are doing compared to other cities in our region, as well as how we can identify increasing the value per acre of land in our community. Because as you saw right now, we are the lowest in the region per person with revenue coming into our city to provide services, and we're doing one heck of a job with the efficiency of what we have to do it with, and that's a great testament to our community and our business partners and to our incredible staff and our contract staff and our contract law enforcement and fire. However, we need to get that number up so that we can continue to expand our services to better serve our residents and what they're looking to have in our community. And have a balance and choices of options in our community. And so we will be bringing that back next time. So.
I just had a couple of quick things. Again, just to echo the comments that have been made on the Every 15 Minutes. That was an awesome program. I've never been to that before, so that was a great experience. Thank you to our fire and our police department, and then also the school district. This past Saturday was the Eastville Little League opening ceremonies. Thank you to those that were able to make it, and thank you again to our law enforcement and our fire. It was originally scheduled the week before, and there was some miscommunication, and it was a last-minute thing. And when you get all these little kids together, they love seeing police cars and fire trucks, fire engines. So thank you for our police department and fire department for being there. This Saturday, there was a invitation that was given to you in the bright orange envelope. Is the CNUSD Art Festival in Corona. I had the opportunity to go down there today and to preview some of the artwork. It's amazing with what some of these students do, their artwork. It really beats my stick figure people when you start looking at pictures that I brought my daughter and she thought it was an actual photograph that was taken, and I said, no, someone drew that. And so she reminded me that that's nothing like Daddy's drawings. But you have the opportunity from 11 to 4 to go down there, take a look. Last year, I guess they had about 5,000 people. So it's a big event. They have entertainment, they have food trucks, all that kind of stuff. So if you're able to go, great opportunity. We also have the opportunity to support the Inland Empire Economic Seminar from Claremont McKenna College. So thank you again for those that were able to be there for that. Recently, our city manager, Brian, and I had the opportunity to do a tour through Home Depot, one of our larger tax generators in the city, and also with new management there, a new general manager. It's been there just since, I believe, November, December, right around there, as well as Assembly Member Sabrina Cervantes. It was a good opportunity for us to be able to see kind of the behind the scenes of what Home Depot does and kind of their involvement, and I would imagine we will see them a little bit more involved in the city with their new general manager. He's gung-ho, he wants to be involved in the city and doing things for the city, so a great person. One of the last things that I just wanted to talk about, I know we briefly talked about it and we want to have it brought back to us regarding the potential police department, but I don't know if we were clear or if we gave any direction on the sales tax initiative. I would like to see us at least begin to start evaluating that. So I think as soon as we can get that back, if we can have that heard before the council and just start evaluating what we need to do to get that rolling. As Councilmember Sorry asked the question, I just want to make sure that we're giving direction to have that come back.
We'll add that to the list.
Thank you. And that is all I have. If there is nothing else, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. The next meeting of the Eastville City Council will be on March 27th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. This
Mayor,
meeting is-
before you close
Before we are adjourned. one more thing.
Before you close it out, we as a city will be also attending the Norco College President's Dinner here coming up. One of our council members is an alumni and a product of the great Norco College, but we have a lot of residents and students in Eastville that go there, and they have a great dual enrollment program where you can go to high school and college at the same time and get your AA done before you even graduate from high school, which is an amazing feat. And so Councilmember Plott and I serve on the President's Advisory Committee, and we sponsored that with a gold sponsorship because it's such a great partnership for our community here, and education is such an important part of our community. So I just wanted to let you know that we did reserve a table there and sponsor that great venue.
Great, thank you. Without any more we will adjourn this meeting.
How we are doing compared to other cities in our region, as well as how we can identify increasing the value per acre of land in our community. Because as you saw right now, we are the lowest in the region per person with revenue coming into our city to provide services, and we're doing one heck of a job with the efficiency of what we have to do it with, and that's a great testament to our community and our business partners, and to our incredible staff and our contract staff and our contract law enforcement and fire. However, we need to get that number up so that we can continue to expand our services to better serve our residents and what they're looking to have in our community. And have a balance and choices of options in our community. And so we will be bringing that back next time. So.
I just had a couple of quick things. Again, just to echo the comments that have been made on the Every 15 Minutes. That was an awesome program. I've never been to that before, so that was a great experience. Thank you to our fire and our police department, and then also the school district. This past Saturday was the Eastville Little League opening ceremonies. Thank you to those that were able to make it, and thank you again to our law enforcement and our fire. It was originally scheduled the week before, and there was some miscommunication, and it was a last minute thing. And when you get all these little kids together, they love seeing police cars and fire trucks, fire engines. So thank you for our police department and fire department for being there. This Saturday, there was a invitation that was given to you in the bright orange envelope. Is the CNUSD Art Festival in Corona. I had the opportunity to go down there today and to preview some of the artwork. It's amazing with what some of these students do, their artwork. It really beats my stick figure people when you start looking at pictures that I brought my daughter and she thought it was an actual photograph that was taken, and I said, no, someone drew that. And so she reminded me that that's nothing like Daddy's drawings. But you have the opportunity from 11 to 4 to go down there, take a look. Last year, I guess they had about 5,000 people. So it's a big event. They have entertainment, they have food trucks, all that kind of stuff. So if you're able to go, great opportunity. We also have the opportunity to support the Inland Empire Economic Seminar from Claremont McKenna College. So thank you again for those that were able to be there for that. Recently, our city manager, Brian, and I had the opportunity to do a tour through Home Depot, one of our larger tax generators in the city, and also with new management there, a new general manager that's been there just since, I believe, November, December, right around there, as well as Assemblymember Sabrina Cervantes. It was a good opportunity for us to be able to see kind of the behind the scenes of what Home Depot does and kind of their involvement, and I would imagine we will see them a little bit more involved in the city with their new general manager. He's gung-ho, he wants to be involved in the city and doing things for the city, so a great person. One of the last things that I just wanted to talk about, I know we briefly talked about it and we want to have it brought back to us regarding the potential police department, but I don't know if we were clear or if we gave any direction on the sales tax initiative. I would like to see us at least begin to start evaluating that. So I think as soon as we can get that back, if we can have that heard before the council and just start evaluating what we need to do to get that rolling. As Councilmember Sorry asked the question, I just want to make sure that we're giving direction to have that come back.
We'll add that to the list.
Thank you. And that is all I have. If there is nothing else, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. The next meeting of the Eastvale City Council will be on March 27th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. This
Mayor,
meeting is-
before you close,
Before we are adjourned. one more thing.
before you close it out, we as a city will be also attending the Norco College President's Dinner here coming up. One of our council members is an alumni and a product of the great Norco College, but we have a lot of residents and students in Eastvale that go there, and they have a great dual enrollment program where you can go to high school and college at the same time and get your AA done before you even graduate from high school, which is an amazing feat. And so Councilmember Plott and I serve on the President's Advisory Committee, and we sponsored that with a gold sponsorship because it's such a great partnership for our community here, and education is such an important part of our community. So I just wanted to let you know that we did reserve a table there and sponsor that great venue.
Great, thank you. Without any more we will adjourn this meeting.